Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
You logged in as Hada. It's fine. That's okay. We know who you are. All right. Should we get started?
Sure.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Welcome, everybody.
All right. Good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the second official LSC meeting for 2021. I'm going to go ahead and start by reading the norms. Be present at all meetings. If unable, reach out to the secretary in advance of the meeting. Please be punctual for all meetings. Speak up and share your ideas and opinions respectfully. Please refrain from having side conversations during the meeting, which is kind of impossible when we're doing it virtually. And feel free to mute your microphone to attend to children who may need it. Las normas, esté presente en todas las reuniones. Si no puede, comuníquese con la secretaria antes de la reunión. Por favor, sé puntual. Para todas las reuniones, hablar y compartir tus ideas con respeto. Por favor, absténgase de tener conversaciones secundarias durante la reunión y no duden en salir de la sala para atender a niños que pueden necesitarlos. Okay, so we'll go ahead and at 8:34, I'll go ahead and do the roll call. Ms. Castillo.
Sí, díganme, buenos días.
Buenos días.
Gracias por el español, porque el inglés estoy un poquito mal.
Sí, cómo no. Hago lo que puedo.
Todo bien.
Mr. Graciani.
Here.
All right. Ms. Bernard.
Here. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Ms. Bolthouse is out, I'm assuming.
Yeah, she's on maternity leave. She had a beautiful baby girl.
Oh, did she? Congrats.
She did.
That's 2 then, right?
Yes.
2 girls?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mr. Delfonso?
I'm here.
All right, good morning. Ms. Gonzalez? Okay. Mr. Adonis? Jason?
I'm here.
All right, good morning. Ms. Freyer?
Good morning.
Ms. Suarez? No? All right, Ms. Lopez? Emily?
Here.
All right. And Mr. Julio.
Morning.
All right. Let me go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Freyer for the agenda approval.
I would like to make a motion to approve our February 19th, 2021 agenda.
Seconded. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
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 Hi.
Okay. Anyone opposed? Estamos aprobando la agenda pasada. All right. The motion is approved.
I also, oh, sorry, go ahead, Mr. Rivera.
No. Go ahead. We'll move on to the reading of the minutes.
Yeah. So the minutes were sent just after the meeting last month, and for our new members, I want to make sure that everyone has received them in their email, and that we all know that we read them ahead of the meeting so that it saves us a little bit of time during the meeting. Could somebody translate for me?
Yes, I can.
Just joined.
I can offer it.
Thank you, Ms. Moreno.
Ya, la agenda se compartió después de la última reunión y eso va a seguir pasando. Después de cada reunión se comparte los minutos de la próxima agenda y se pide que cada miembro revise los minutos para que ahorren tiempo en cuanto vayan a aprobar en la próxima reunión, si los leen adelantadamente.
If you're not getting your emails or something's going wrong, if you could please put a working email in the chat or just let me know if you're not getting things so that I can get them directed to the correct email.
Si no han recibido los minutos, puede ser que no tenemos el correo electrónico correcto, entonces por favor compartan en el chat su correo electrónico para que se les pueda corregir eso y puedan recibir los minutos adelantada.
Thank you. That's all I have. Is anyone else having trouble hearing Mr. Farrer? Just me.
I guess it would help if I unmute my mic, right? Sorry about that.
No worries.
Chairperson's report. I've got nothing on my end. Obviously, the pandemic has kept us all the way physically, so I don't have anything new to report other than I'm glad that we're all headed towards the right direction as far as getting our kids, the education that they need and deserve, whether virtual or in person or hybrid. So I think we're on the right direction. We'll move on to committee reports. The PAC, Señora Suarez. I think I saw her log in. Is she on?
There.
She's not on? Okay, we'll just go ahead and maybe circle back around if she gets on.
I can talk for the PAC too.
Oh, okay. There you go.
The PAC met on a few weeks ago. And each week, if you have been watching on Facebook, or each month, I'm sorry, we have a Riquísimos highlight. It's someone from our staff or family member of our school presenting a cultural cuisine that's like local to their family. So we've had Miss Lappy make lacas for Hanukkah. We've had Miss Abillon made pastelitos. And we had Miss Roa just made, what did she make? What were those again? They were Venezolano.
Arepas.
Yeah. She was really like making them great. Arepas, sí. And they were so awesome. I loved her video. So we've been calling it Riquísimos. And anyone that has one that wants to film something that's local, it can be simple. We would love more people to get involved. Queremos más personas para hacer una receta en vivo o puede recordarlo. Pero ahora es como un video cada mes. Es para las familias, para ver otras culturas y tratan otras recetas también. So that's what we're calling Riquísimos, just to try to keep, connections between families in this time that's everyone's so isolated, just to be able to get kind of a window into las familias de Mus. Y ahora tenemos otro evento, es Love y Lotería. Vamos a tener este evento a las 6 en la tarde, en 23 o 24. 23.
24th.
I think it's the 24th. Okay.
24th.
24 de febrero. Es para las familias. Lotería es como bingo. It's like bingo. And everyone's going to have a virtual card. And Juan Perez, Mr. Perez is going to be the jefe de lotería. No sé la palabra. Pero hay regalos de certificados de taquería, el restaurante taquería. Y hay una mamá que trabaja en un salón estética y ella tiene gift certificados para Botox y para cremas para el piel y máscaras de mousse, botellas de agua para mousse también. So we are going to give prizes for the bingo. So it'll be an hour. Families can all get a card and everyone can play. And it'll be from 6 to 7 on the 23rd, 4th. And we have moose gear to give away, bottles, water bottles, and masks. Taqueria is a local restaurant here it's in Humble Park. It's Logan Square, maybe, or West Bucktown. I don't know what the area right there. I think it's like on Western. It's pretty close.
Yeah, Logan Square.
In Logan Square. And he has donated gift certificates. Stephanie Nimchek has gotten some of those. We also have a preschool mom that's going to donate gift cards for Botox and for creams at her medical aesthetic salon. So hoping to win some of those. So that's the pack. That's what the Parent Advisory Council has been working on.
Is that going to be through Google Meets or?
Yep. Yeah, it'll be on Google Meets. I shared the advertisement. Stephanie made an advertisement for Facebook, but I'll put it on Class Dojo as well.
Yeah. Okay.
I try not to like bombard people on Class Dojo because I try to hold it to like most important information. Facebook's kind of like what we use to try to like build momentum for the future in like community events. Yo voy a poner en Class Dojo más antes del evento, como en martes y en la mañana en miércoles para recordarlos, to remind people. Es todo.
Okay, thank you. Counseling, Consejeria, Ms. Conway, or?
Oh, let's go to the back and I'll text, or let's go to the back. Moreno, are you able to talk?
Okay, yeah.
And then I'll text Conway to get on.
Ok, entonces voy a dar el reporte sobre los programas bilingües en la escuela MUS. Y ahorita actualmente tuvimos una reunión con el BAC, que es el grupo asesor de padres para los estudiantes bilingües. Y tuvimos una reunión hace una semana y media donde dimos información sobre el sello de biliteracidad que ofrece el distrito, las escuelas públicas de Chicago. Ese sello es un sello especial que el distrito creó hace unos años atrás para que le llaman es el sello para el camino al sello de biliteracidad que los estudiantes se pueden ganar cuando llegan a la secundaria. Entonces, esa información se compartió en la reunión para los papás y se va a volver a ofrecer la información a través de una carta. En esta próxima semana vamos a compartir una carta para informarles a los papás con más detalles. También vamos a dar una presentación a los estudiantes de 5º y 8º grado, quienes son los estudiantes que pueden tomar este examen para ganarse ese sello. Entonces, los de 5º y 8º grado recibirán información para que ellos entiendan el propósito del sello y por qué quizás podría ser buena oportunidad para ellos en tomar este examen y ganarse ese sello. Aparte de eso, perdón, aquí perdí la notita aquí. Aparte de eso, estamos ahorita organizando con el BAC 2 eventos o dos programas o proyectos. Uno, se trata de un proyecto creando un jardín un jardín de inspiración que estamos pensando en utilizar el espacio que tenemos en la esquina de la Fairfield. Y ahorita estamos trabajando con unos maestros, con la señora Ferguson de la clase de español, los papás y quizás algunos estudiantes de 6º a 8º grado para ver si qué podemos fomentar con un proyecto de jardín allí. Ya cuando tengamos más detalles elaborados los vamos a compartir. El segundo proyecto va a ser una campaña para celebrar lo que es el bilingüismo aquí en la escuela. Entonces se llama la campaña de 3 minutos, donde vamos a estar entrevistando a diferentes personas, estudiantes, papás, maestros, con una serie de preguntas que tarda 3 minutos y lo vamos a lanzar como campaña de video para compartir con toda la comunidad. Con los maestros, ahorita estamos, seguimos en desarrollo profesional cada 2 semanas, donde estamos ofreciendo, estamos trabajando con el programa de interbachillerato para la primaria y estamos elaborando las estructuras necesarias para el desarrollo del lenguaje y bilingüismo. Igual ahorita estamos completando exámenes que se tienen que dar a través del Estado para los niños de prekinder que están en persona. Estamos esperando nota del Estado y del distrito para ver si vamos a lanzar con los exámenes estatales del Access que se dan cada año. Todavía no sabemos si vamos a proceder con eso este año debido a la pandemia y el calendario del distrito. El último detalle es que las primeras 2 semanas de marzo es cuando se va a ofrecer el examen del sello de biliteracidad. Entonces, por esa razón, vamos a llevar a cabo toda la información y las cartas de consentimiento para los papás en esta próxima semana. So I was sharing the first half of my share out was related to the BAC and the projects that we're working on. So we had a meeting about a week and a half ago where we discussed information regarding the seal of biliteracy. And at the primary level, it's one that CPS actually created, and it's called a pathway to the seal of biliteracy that kids actually earn when they're in high school. But the seal for the pathway to the seal of biliteracy is offered at the primary level for 5th and 8th grade. So that information was shared out. We'll be sharing that information with our parents in a letter as well in the coming week. And we'll also be working with 5th and 8th graders to explain to them what the test is about and why it may be a great opportunity for them to try and take it and earn that seal of biliteracy at the primary level. We're also working as a BAC, we're working on 2 projects right now that are still in the planning phases. One is a campaign called 3 Minutes for Bilingualism. And it's a campaign to just kind of celebrate what it means to be bilingual. So we'll be interviewing students and families and teachers about the notion of what it means to be bilingual, and we'll be doing that through video. So we'll be launching that as a celebratory campaign. And then the other piece is that we're working on a potential garden project, one that hopefully will inspire the community to come out. We'll be looking at using the lot on Fairfield and incorporating like some classrooms and some students to work with us in devising a project in which a lot of folks from throughout the community can participate. So we'll share more information as we start to formalize that. On the teacher end, teachers continue to work bi-weekly in professional development, and right now they've been focusing a lot on the areas of language development and developing biliteracy with the PYP implementation work that's going on right now. So, or the planning work that's going on right now. So just developing those structures and outlining language policy and work around that. We are also testing pre-K students right now through formal screeners that are required by the district and the state for those kids that are in-person instruction. The Seal of Biliteracy test is going to be taking place the first 2 weeks of March, which is why we're going to go ahead and send out a letter next week to parents to explain in more detail about the test and get a consent letter going. We'll be meeting with those 5th and 8th graders to explain to them what that test is about so that we can schedule them in for the test. 8th graders are the only group that's allowed to actually take the test remotely. So we'll be organizing that entire process as well. We are waiting to hear from the district and the state on whether or not we're going to formally screen our K to eighth graders and provide the access test to our students. Given the pandemic and the CPS calendar, right now the state is waiting on whether or not we're actually going to go ahead and proceed with administering that test. So it's just a waiting game now, and that is it. That is the extent of our announcement.
All right, thank you, Ms. Moreno. Ms. Freyer, just on the side, is there any way to make the presentation, the PowerPoint, larger, like a full screen?
Yeah, it's all set. Mr. Julio can do that. She's the one presenting.
Oh,
Pardon me.
Can I ask a question about the testing really quick? Or is that for later? I'm just wondering, what is the benefit of taking the test in 5th and 8th grade if you can only get certified in high school? Or am I getting that wrong?
No, that's correct. So the reason CPS created it is to just really help generate, generate enthusiasm and to help prepare the kids to get a sense of like what are the things that are going to be measured, what parts of language development are going to be measured in order to take that seal of biliteracy test. But because the district is actually still in there's still relatively like new programs that are growing for the district at the secondary level for dual language, right? And even their world language programs they're continuing to roll out new programs at more schools, right? These last few years, the district has been focusing on really building enthusiasm, building awareness. And so part of that work involves the pathways to the seal of biliteracy. And so we want people to know that if you are bilingual and biliterate now, there is a place for you. This is something this is all going to lead up to something, that's going to be really advantageous for you. It's advantageous for kids at the primary level because when they're applying to high schools, this stuff comes out on their transcript, right? And so these skills that they actually acquire and are developing are something that are coveted, right? And so that's part of like the work that the district is really working towards in terms of building up that awareness, building up that pride for students, and letting them know that this is all leading up to something that's going to really help you when you get to college, and the high school is going to open up opportunities for you to navigate language development at that level in a different way as well. So that's the rationale.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, si podría yo traducir, preguntaron sobre por qué se ofrece el sello al nivel de primaria si los estudiantes actualmente se ganan ese sello de biliteracidad en la secundaria. Entonces le expliqué que el distrito ha estado lanzando una campaña estos últimos años en fomentando entusiasmo y motivación para los niños que son bilingües y que están tomando clases para seguir desarrollando esas destrezas de lenguaje. Entonces quieren dar a saber y a conocer que los niños y las niñas en la escuela tienen un camino donde van a poder ellos navegar el desarrollo del lenguaje mucho más fácilmente. Les va a dar ventajas cuando estén aplicando a las secundarias y cuando apliquen a los colegios, y que hay un lugar para ellos para celebrar y tener orgullo de que son bilingües y que tienen esas destrezas desarrolladas a un nivel muy alto de proficiencia.
all right, thanks, Ms. Moreno. Now we'll move on to counseling. Ms. Conway.
Miss Conway is in with some kids. Miss Van Dyke is on, so she's going to share about IB, and then we'll pop back over to counseling.
Okay.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Tina Van Dyke. I see some new faces on here, so I just want to say good morning and hi, introduce myself. I am the MYP coordinator, which means I work with the 6th through 8th grade students and teachers for the middle years program for our IB International Baccalaureate program. Just some quick updates. Our 6th through 8th grade teachers have just recently participated in Approaches to Learning skills training. Our Approaches to Learning is just a part of our IB program, and these are really just skills that help students communicate, think, self-manage, research, and collaborate successfully in all areas, right? So especially in the classroom, but also we're focusing on those skills outside of the classroom as well. And so our teachers just received some training on that, how to explicitly teach, you know, really engaging lessons that get students to learn these skills that are extremely important for success. We will also have a follow-up training where teachers will bring back some artifacts from students with our presenter on March 10th. Ms. Marino, do you want me to stop after every bullet point? Or?
No, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share that out. La señora Van Dyke, quien es la coordinadora del programa el programa de bachillerato internacional en los grados de 6º a 8º grado, ella ahorita quería compartir que los estudiantes de 6º a 8º y más bien los maestros han estado participando en entrenamiento para poder elaborar sus unidades de estudio y poder trabajar con los estudiantes para el desarrollo de destrezas donde están comunicándose y manejando sus investigaciones y colaborando a un nivel de éxito. Van a seguir continuando con entrenamiento ellos el 10 de marzo.
Okay, so our school went through authorization about like 3.5 years ago. And so every 5 years we have an evaluation that needs to occur just to make sure that we're keeping up with the program requirements. And so the MYP team, the middle school team, is starting to plan for that evaluation visit. That will occur in the 2022-2023 school year. And so our first step in that process is just to really start looking at the units that the teachers have created and are implementing in the classrooms. And so we just started a process where we'll self-evaluate those units so that we can improve not only the planning process, but the instruction and assessment that goes with it.
El programa de bachillerato internacional lanzó su proyecto hace unos años atrás, hace 3 años atrás, y el acto de tener este programa también implica que tiene que haber una parte donde se evalúa la calidad del trabajo. Entonces, ahorita los maestros se están preparando para una evaluación que va a ocurrir el próximo año. El primer paso para ese proceso está empezando ahorita, y los maestros están autoevaluándose, están tomando 2 unidades de estudio donde están haciendo revisos y revisiones y están reflejando sobre cómo impacta la enseñanza y el mejoramiento de la instrucción.
Can you just move to the service learning slide? Sorry, thank you. So one of the components of our IB program is service learning in action. And so for each year of the program, for 6th, 7th, and 8th, there's different requirements. So for our 6th and 7th graders, the requirement is that they are supposed to gain service learning hours. Because we're in this remote setting, we've changed things up a little bit. Our teachers in our language and literature classes and individuals and societies classes have been doing a lot of units and work around activism and what that means and what that looks like and how our students can actually become activists. And so we're going to count that towards their service learning requirements. I'm going to go back in and meet with those students and do a reflection around that.
Ahorita los estudiantes de 6º y 7º grado están trabajando durante sus horas de aprendizaje de servicio. En preparación para eso, ellos están ahorita participando en unidades que se enfocan en el activismo y ellos van a recibir crédito para este trabajo de servicio, ¿verdad? Y el activismo a través de la clase de lenguaje y literatura y sociedades e individuos. Entonces, todo ese trabajo ahorita todavía se está elaborando.
And then for our 8th graders, they are required to work on community projects. And so the community project is really just finding a place where they can make a difference, right? Or an impact in one of their communities that they are part of. So that could be in school, it could be in their neighborhood. They could think at a global level. They could think just here in the city. We've had some restrictions and barriers on their projects because, students aren't able to go places like they normally would. But I think that I'm extremely proud of our students and the way that they're being so innovative in their new ideas, because they're really continuing to find ways to help the community. We just recently had our first project, which was Kindness Week, and the 3 young ladies that worked on it, they created a whole virtual presentation providing videos and just some resources for teachers to use in the classroom to promote kindness with their students. So I think it was really great, and I just continue to work with the students, and we will have some really wonderful presentations by the end of the year.
Los estudiantes de 8º grado continúan trabajando en sus proyectos comunitarios y ahorita por la pandemia obviamente han tenido algunas restricciones, algunas barreras para completar sus proyectos, pero han estado buscando maneras muy creativas para seguir adelante con su trabajo. Would you be able to slide back to the previous one just so I can look at the notes? Thank you. Entonces ahorita tuvieron proyectos virtuales que se tomaron a cabo el mes de enero y entonces los estudiantes van a seguir elaborando sus proyectos y pronto tendrán más presentaciones para compartir con los demás.
I think that's all I had, but do you need me to share out for Sweeney or anybody else? Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you.
Yeah, no worries. Miss Sweeney is not here, but she is our fabulous PYP coordinator. So the PYP is the primary years program, and we are just in the beginning stages of that. So we are definitely in the implementation planning stage. So for the K-5 teachers, they just actually participated in one of a 4-part workshop where they're thinking about inquiry and how that is combined with the workshop model that we're already doing for reading and writing. So they just participated that in the last PD, and they're going to have 3 more sessions where they're continuing to work on that.
El programa de bachillerato internacional para nivel de primaria es guiado por la maestra Sweeney, y ella no pudo estar hoy con nosotros, pero que acaba de compartir la maestra Van Dyke, que siguen los maestros participando en desarrollo profesional para seguir trabajando las unidades de estudio que van a formar la base del programa, ¿verdad? Enlazando el modelo que nosotros utilizamos del taller de lectura y escritura. Entonces, ahorita hemos estado también viendo de qué manera se puede integrar lo que es el proceso de investigación, integrar esas prácticas en las enseñanzas actuales y las unidades que se están planificando.
I should have probably mentioned inquiry is a big part of the IB program, so that's why we're working on incorporating both of those. So for Miss Sweeney in March, they are, for the PYP teachers, they're beginning to plan their first unit of inquiry for each grade level, which is a huge step. So this coming up month, they're going to be working on planning out their entire first unit for PYP.
El mes este próximo mes de marzo es un mes muy importante para los maestros de la primaria, porque están preparando la primera unidad de investigación para cada nivel de grado. Entonces, va a ser la primera unidad que se está preparando ya con todos ¿cómo se puede decir? El esqueleto, ¿no? De lo que va a ser la base de este programa a nivel de primaria.
Part of the IB program is creating a few policies, and one of those policies is our school language policy. And this policy really focuses on what the school believes in language and how we value language at our school. The MYP team worked on a policy a few years back, and now the PYP team is currently revising that policy, and we're just making it more current to our school year. Ms. Sweeney is going to be sending out a family language survey on Dojo and sending out some emails so that we can start building a school language profile, understanding where our families come from, what languages they speak, so that we can just make a whole picture of our language policy versus just bits and pieces.
Entonces ahorita el programa de bachillerato internacional a nivel de primaria tiene un equipo de implementación y este equipo es compuesto de maestros y maestras que actualmente están revisando la póliza de lenguaje que se va a utilizar con este programa. Tomaron la póliza que ya existía para los años de 6º a 8º grado y la estamos aumentando o amplificando. Y entonces esa se va a compartir con el concilio escolar en el mes de marzo. Ahorita los maestros están dándole sus últimos toques de cambios. También vamos a incluir una encuesta para las familias sobre el lenguaje y el uso del lenguaje en casa. Y eso también pronto se va a compartir para poder desarrollar el perfil de la escuela sobre el lenguaje. I think we're done.
Do you need me to do Conway's or?
I know. Sure.
All right. So Ms. Conway, our school counselor, has been working on skills-based small group counseling. She has started with grades 2nd, the Van Dyke show, I know, my goodness, the 2nd through 5th grade. And her groups are focused on success skills and self-esteem. And I know she's already started those groups and they're going pretty nicely. She's working with the students on self-esteem, and she's going to continue to meet with them for the next 8 weeks.
Sorry, I think I've got a...
I'm here. El programa de consejería. Ahorita la maestra Conway está trabajando con un grupo grupos pequeños de consejería para los estudiantes de 2º grado a 5º grado. Los grupos se están enfocando en las habilidades para el éxito y el autoestima y seguirán reuniéndose durante las próximas 8 semanas.
As far as the high school application process through GoCPS, that is currently closed for round 1, but we successfully had 98% of our 8th graders submit an application, which is amazing. I think we had one 8th grade student who transferred in literally the day of the deadline, so I think that's why our percentage is at 98%. But those offers for round 1 will be posted to GoCPS later this spring.
La aplicación para aplicar a la secundaria a través del sistema GoCPS, a la primera ronda ya se cerró y nosotros cumplimos con ayudar al 98% de nuestros estudiantes someter una aplicación a este proceso. Tuvimos un estudiante que entró, se transfirió a la escuela el día en que se cerraba este programa y por eso solamente logramos cumplir con el 98% de los estudiantes en aplicando. Entonces, pronto en esta primavera se van a dar los resultados de las ofertas que se le están dando a los estudiantes y esas se van a compartir con ellos y las familias en cuanto lleguen.
then our social emotional instruction continues. We're using second step program with pre-K through 8th grade students. And then we're additionally using the Success Bound program for 6th through 8th grade students. And that Success Bound program really gives students the skills that they need beyond 8th grade, beyond even high school. So really looking at themselves and setting goals for themselves.
Continuamos con el programa de la instrucción socioemocional a través de programas que se llaman el segundo paso, el second step, que ese se lleva a cabo de pre-kinder hasta 8º grado. Y también tenemos uno más específico que se llama jornada hacia el éxito, que es el Success Bound, y ese es para los grupos de 6º y 8º grado.
I think the Van Dyke show is over.
Roll the credits.
Exactly. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Van Dyke. Mr. Julio? Microphone. There you go.
Okay, I'll do a quick special ed update for Miss Leong. Currently, we have 59 students with IEPs, and 96.6 of them are included in like full inclusion. We really try to make sure that we're using the least restrictive environment at all times. Hay 59 estudiantes con IEPs en MUS, y la mayoría, 96%, están en la clase con los otros estudiantes que no tienen IEPs. No, ellos no son en un clase solo. Hay 9 evaluaciones, 3 inicial y 6 re-evaluations. And we have a new health services nurse, and he is amazing. His name's Kurt Harris. He's unfortunately only going to be at school on Mondays and Tuesdays. So he's the lead nurse that does all of the 504 plans, which means like any kids that come to school with asthma or any type of health conditions, he helps run those meetings to make sure that we have a plan in place for those students for allergies, for asthma, for any other type of health impairment, seizure disorder. And he is great. He's been here, but he's only here Mondays and Tuesdays, and we have students coming on Thursdays and Fridays. So unfortunately, it doesn't really line up very well with actually serving students. And we have another nurse, Barbara Foon. So she's our IEP meeting nurse. So she, basically these two nurses, this was one of the big fights for the CTU, is that we don't have a nurse in our school. The only way that you can get a nurse is if you have more than 2 students with diabetes in your school. So we only have 1, so that means we don't have enough students to get a nurse full time. So these nurses are here not to serve kids if they get bitten by a bee or get frostbite or something. They're here to really facilitate the meetings with parents and help with the plan for school. So it's not really like any type of hands-on nursing. Tenemos una nueva enfermera, Kurt Harris. Él es súper amable. Él solo está trabajando en lunes y martes en la escuela, pero tenemos estudiantes en jueves y viernes, empezando en 2 semanas. Pero estos enfermeros solo están para proteger a los estudiantes que tienen problemas de salud, como asma, como diabetes y otro things that I don't know how to say in Spanish. I don't know.
Enfermedades.
Yeah. Enfermedades, yes. Pero él es súper amable. Vamos a tratar para tener él 5 días porque esa es la meta. This is the goal for all of CPS. So right now, if you know anyone that has a nursing certificate, they're trying to hire and hire and hire because that was contractually what they agreed upon in the union contract. That by a certain date, every school will have a nurse. By a certain date, maybe Freyer knows the specific date. I don't remember the specific date. That schools will have a nurse and a social worker full time. But so they're trying to plan for this, and it's like a slow process rollout. But that's the goal, is to have a nurse full time, especially during times of a pandemic, a health pandemic, which would really be helpful in making plans and strategizing and just like being able to have a thought partner that actually has training in the health field. So that's our special ed updates. I think that we're all caught up then in IB. MTSS. Okay, so MTSS is multi-tiered systems of support. Es muchos niveles de apoyar, porque cada estudiante necesita algo diferente, because all of our kids need something different. So we start with a tier 1 level, which is what everyone gets, our whole class instruction. And then we need to make modifications for specific students to either challenge them or support them. Each week, every week that we have a MTSS meeting where teachers can bring student concerns to the team to kind of brainstorm some solutions, whether it be behavior or academics. And we really look at them as a whole and really think about wraparound services in terms of, is it an attendance issue? Is it a neglect issue? Is it there's something that's going on with the family that's preventing them from getting here on time? Is it a medical, do they have an underlying medical need? Do they need glasses and they just can't see the board? So the team really kind of goes into detail about the specific concerns about kids so that we can develop the right plan and treat the right symptoms. So we're not just like giving an intervention when really they just needed glasses, or we're giving all these interventions, but really they just need to come to school. Their attendance is just terrible. So they're not even getting the tier 1. So cada semana tenemos una junta con un equipo y en esta junta hablamos de solo un estudiante con la maestra para identify
las necesidades escolares que tienen.
Sí, y emocionales también.
Sí.
Para planear, para poner un plan, para concentrar servicios en este estudiante que tenemos concerns. How do you say concerns?
Preocupaciones.
Preocupaciones. So in terms of our ILT and our instructional leadership and our CIWP, we kind of like encompass all of these into one. And a lot of our work has been kind of sidestepped this year with how do we now make everything remote, and how do we plan for reopening, and what are our safety protocols, and all of the other things that are happening now, and how do we make sure that kids are engaged remotely, and how are we supporting students emotionally and socially right now during this crazy time. But like Van Dyke said, and like Sweeney said, they've been amazing at leading the learning for IB. So while a lot of our meetings and a lot of our PD is about remote learning and pandemic planning and social emotional support and reopening and coming back and new schedules that we're putting into place, our IB coaches, Van Dyke and Sweeney, have done just like an incredible job of making sure that we're still continuing to look at our instruction and look at our plans and make sure that we're thinking about like, what standards are we hitting? How are we engaging students? What type of variety of tasks and level of thinking are we asking for kids to do? Particularly remotely, as we're redefining ways to do instruction, it's easy to get into a rut of like, okay, I'm always going to use this type of assessment. I'm going to use this Jamboard. I'm going to use this Pear Deck. I'm going to use this, make a PowerPoint presentation, make this. But as we looked at our grade books and kind of thought about the tasks that we feel are most important, because in a grade book, really, it's showing what you value as an educator. Your grade book is really an indicator of like what you believe is important, because you wouldn't grade it if you didn't think it was important. So taking a real look at our grade book and what we're asking, and does it paint a whole picture of a child's performance? So if you only get one reading grade, but you're only assessing them on 1 or 2 standards, like, and they didn't get main idea, is that really painting a whole picture of them as a reader? Or do we really need to make sure that we're adding different standards in there, and there's some type of fluency assessment, and there's some type of other comprehension assessment, and there's a vocabulary and assessment that included in there that kind of paints a whole picture of a student on a whole. So we looked at our notas gradebook. libro de notas y está estudiando los proyectos, los assignments. How do you say assignments? Tasks?
Los trabajos escolares.
Yeah. Tasks es mucho más fácil.
Yeah.
What did you say? What escolares?
Trabajos, nomás trabajos escolares.
Sí, estudiando los trabajos escolares y qué significa, qué es importante y es suficiente para un picture, un dibujo completo de un estudiante en cada sujeto. Entonces, si hay 10 trabajos escolares, estos días son los más importantes, pero es suficiente, es un dibujo completo y hay oportunidades para creer y pensar mucho, o es muy simple. Is it really simple, or is it really giving kids opportunities to think deeply about the content? So we've been doing a lot of evaluation that way and making sure that we're really being well-rounded in terms of what we're asking and the variety of tasks, as well as like the level of thinking and like the difficulty, especially as for students that are really high performing, that really need to be challenged, while also giving opportunities for those kids that are lower performing to be able to have access to that higher level thinking. Go ahead.
Mr. Julio, can I share a little bit more detail about that in Spanish?
Sí.
Yeah, okay. No, so la directora está hablando acerca de cómo estamos llevando a cabo a lograr cumplir con las metas individuos para cada estudiante, ¿verdad? Entonces estamos ahorita tenemos el equipo de Miss Sweeney y Miss Van Dyke que entran a las clases, trabajan con los maestros para poder ofrecer ideas de cómo pueden mejorar la enseñanza, ¿verdad? Para asegurar de que estemos haciendo trabajo que encuadra con las expectativas de lo que es un programa de bachillerato internacional, ¿verdad? Entonces, parte de ese trabajo es también ver al estudiante como una persona completa, no solamente con lo académico, pero también con lo socioemocional, ¿verdad? Y ver cuando estamos viendo el trabajo y la participación del estudiante, de qué manera podemos enlazar al estudiante de una manera que pueda sentirse más apoyado, que pueda participar de mejor manera, y qué tipo de trabajo están entregando, ¿verdad? ¿Qué nos dice, qué nos indica el trabajo que los estudiantes están haciendo sobre la calidad de enseñanza que estamos llevando a cabo? Entonces, uno de los trabajos que hemos estado haciendo últimamente es utilizar los datos escolares que de los estudiantes, las notas de proficiencia, ¿verdad? Las notas de calificación, para ver qué nos indican todo lo que se les ha asignado a los estudiantes, ¿verdad? Los trabajos escolares y qué reflejan sobre la enseñanza, ¿verdad? ¿Cómo podemos elevar el trabajo para que vayan más allá de lo simple, ¿verdad? Y podamos ver que los estudiantes están elaborando a un nivel mucho más profundo de entendimiento sobre el contenido y las destrezas que se intentan elaborar.
And as you know, we're a very data-driven school. We use NWEA beginning, middle, and end of year to see how kids are performing academically, to make sure that we can cater our supports to those that need to be boosted up, but while also challenging those that are higher in terms of school-wide support and just classroom support. And this year, we haven't had any standardized tests. We've been doing individual reading assessments for fluency comprehension for reading, and are finishing up those middle of year assessments now. And so, which is why it's been really crucial this year to take a look at what type of assessments we're using in class, because we don't have any type of formalized assessments. Este año no hay exámenes del distrito, de NWEA, solo exámenes de lectura y exámenes de la maestra. No hay exámenes de distrito ahora. We'll see about Illinois. Vamos a ver si hay otro de Illinois, pero ahora en CPS no hay. Entonces es súper importante para ver nuestros exámenes y ver los datos para grupar, no es grupar, to group, para poner niños
Para engrupar, para formar grupos.
¿Grupar es correcto?
Engrupar.
Engrupar, okay. Engrupar los niños para mejorar. I think that's it for instruction. And we, as we re-enter, I'll get into this with the principal's report. As we re-enter school, it's going to be a whole nother way of teaching. So our teachers have done like an incredible job changing their teaching completely to being remote. So developing new technology, being able to engage students in remote instruction. And now we're moving into a simultaneous model, which is a whole new way of teaching. And there's a whole new level of technology to be able to teach the kids in front of them that are in person, while also engaging and motivating the kids at home. So we received a bunch of technology. We received 40 cameras and speakerphones to help do that work in our preschool, since they've been in person for 5 days since January 11th, with a few days off here and there. They're really trying out all the different ways of using the technology. So a lot of our work in terms of standards alignment, MTSS, and differentiation is going to also be figuring out how to make that work in groups work with technology, like having kids in a group, like some at home, some in person, and working together across platforms, and figuring out the amount of time and the ratio of time that you're spending with your kids in front of you versus the kids at home. Ahora vamos a invitar los estudiantes en la escuela. Las maestras necesitan aprender otra forma de instrucción con las cámaras y un speakerphone, un teléfono de speaker.
Con bocina.
What?
Con bocina.
Bocina. Y enseñando simultaneously.
Simultáneamente.
Sí. Con los niños en la casa y los niños en la escuela. En lo mismo tiempo, con la cámara y la cina. Entonces hay otra nueva forma de instrucción, y ahí va a haber un curvo de aprender, a learning curve. There's going to be a learning curve there, and I know that we have really amazing kids and really amazing parents, and our teachers aren't going to give up. So we're always going to want feedback on like what's working, what's not. How does it look? Is it too small? Like if we're sharing the screen this way, or can you not hear us? So we're going to be talking to the kids and talking to families to get feedback about how it's working, particularly for the kids at home, as we're figuring out how to use multiple cameras, like your smartboard, your cameras, your speakerphone, and all of the things working together.
Va a haber un periodo de transición que les pedimos a todos que ayuden y que apoyen y que tengan un poquito de paciencia también, porque esperamos que esa transición tiene que tomar en cuenta toda la instrucción simultánea que va a ocurrir con los grupos de estudiantes que están en casa y los grupos que están en persona aquí en la escuela. Entonces vamos a estar pidiendo muchas ideas de cómo podemos seguir mejorando la instrucción, dando instrucción simultáneamente.
Sí. I think that's all for MTSS, CIWP, ILT. BBC, DVD.
You want to go right into the from the teachers?
Sure. Right. Freya, did you add this one? This is usually both houses, Jan, but.
Yeah. So it's been alluded to already, but teachers have been working to prepare how we're going to be delivering instruction both online or virtually and in person. That is no small task. So we have been preparing for that. In addition, and maybe, I don't think this has been talked about, but next week, classes are shortened a bit to accommodate for some of that planning. Were you going to talk about that in your report?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I don't need to go into that, but yeah, it's a lot of work. It's not just as easy as it sounds, but teachers have been working really hard to figure out how that's all going to work and to do our best to keep students engaged, whether they are in front of us or virtual.
El reporte de maestros, ahorita la maestra Freyer estaba hablando de que la preparación para los maestros no va a ser fácil, no ha sido fácil, de tener que cambiar la manera en que dan la instrucción, ¿verdad? Que ahora es no solamente darla en línea, sino que también simultáneamente a los dos grupos, el grupo en casa y el grupo que está en persona. Entonces, ese proceso es muy laboroso, mucho más difícil de lo que la gente se imagina. Entonces, la próxima semana va a haber un horario modificado para que los maestros empiecen esa preparación un poco más detallada, en preparación con toda la tecnología y todo lo que van a tener que hacer ya cuando empiece esa enseñanza simultánea.
Thanks,
I
Ray.
think, Ms. Julia, just one question on the special ed, the Kurt being at the school on Mondays and Tuesdays. Is that because he's at other schools on Thursdays and Fridays where we're going to be in person?
Yeah, he's actually at 2 different schools on those days. So
Okay.
now he's at 3 different schools.
Okay, so he's a shared asset, I'm assuming. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ya,
All right.
la pregunta era acerca del enfermero, que ¿por qué nomás va a estar ciertos días en la escuela? Y es porque él se está compartiendo con otras 3 escuelas, entonces tiene diferentes escuelas para visitar y revisar, hacer los revisos de salud para los estudiantes en cada escuela.
Okay, health and wellness.
Mr. Rosado is not here. He's in class right now. But we received our report from last year, and then they rescinded it and said there were inaccuracies. So we'll still be waiting for our official report. As of for this year, everything's been completed and submitted to maintain our healthy school status. And Mr. Rosado also included some resources here about returning to school and keeping safety in mind. And we'll link this when we send the minutes out too, if you want to open up the link.
El reporte de salud, salud en la escuela, el señor Rosado no está aquí para presentarlo porque está en clases ahorita, pero quería compartir que el reporte o el informe que se da a cada escuela a través del distrito, para medir el nivel de salud y mejoramiento de salud que tienen en la escuela, ha sido ahorita están en un proceso de corrección. Lo habían sacado el último análisis, pero lo acaban de recolectar y indicaron que hay unas correcciones que se tienen que hacer, entonces nosotros estamos esperando esas últimas notas. Ahorita, por el momento, ya todos los documentos que se han pedido por parte de la escuela ya han sido sometidos para este proceso de estudio. Y adicionalmente, el maestro Rosado compartió unos recursos en línea que las familias pueden utilizar para aprender un poquito más sobre cómo se pueden mantener a salvo y mantenerse saludables hoy en día, ahorita con todo lo que estamos ligando y el regreso a clases.
He also put in a slide here about, am I muted? Okay. About making sure kids are staying physically active. And they're getting brain breaks within their classes, but just making sure they're getting outside, getting exercise. I've read an article recently about the level of obesity that's been increasing because children are just sitting, so much. And now, this weather and the pandemic, none of it is really encouraging of people leaving the house and getting outside, but to try to incorporate physical activity in safe ways.
El maestro Rosado también incluyó aquí un diapositivo sobre la actividad física y la necesidad para esto. Ahorita con todo lo que ha estado ocurriendo y con la pandemia, hay una propensidad de que la obesidad se está convirtiendo en un problema más grande para nuestra juventud. Entonces estamos estresando que es muy importante mantener a los estudiantes activos y de darles descansos de movimiento, porque esto ayuda a que ellos puedan aprender mejor, ayuda al crecimiento del cerebro, y es sumamente importante que liguemos con estas cuestiones de la obesidad, ¿verdad? Y de procurar de que nuestros estudiantes se estén manteniendo físicamente activos para evitar problemas de salud. Entonces, aquí él está explicando algunos puntos que se deben de tomar en cuenta de no solamente cómo es saludable físicamente, pero sino también emocionalmente y que es sumamente importante para ese desarrollo.
Hello. I have a couple of announcements. Part of MTSS is still continuing to reach out to those families and students that we haven't been able to meet or that are not logging in, and focusing on attendance. Conway, our counselor down there, she's on now, pioneered an amazing attendance all-stars program. Ms. Freyer is one of the checkers. We targeted our kids in our tier 2 students that are like in the yellow to do like a check-in, check-out, to check in every morning with a loved adult, so that we can develop those relationships and really encourage them and motivate them to come to school. And then modeled after the pitch-in program, we stole their Amazon idea. So after a few days, every day they get like a dollar, like a point. And if they check in for 5 days straight, they get to choose something from Amazon and get it shipped to their house. So Conway has been managing all of that, which is amazing. I would be like dropping all the balls in there if I had to manage that. They'd be like, did I get, wasn't I supposed to get a present like 2 months ago? But Conway's super organized and can manage all of those things. And we've seen mixed results. Some kids are responding and some kids aren't. And she's really great at tracking the data every 5 weeks and looking to see who can graduate from Attendance All-Stars and then who needs like some tier 3 supports. And we've been really reaching out with families to try to problem solve and troubleshoot that way. And, kids aren't logging on for a variety of reasons. And we've just tried to have grace and understanding during this time, because everyone's in different situations and kids are often like being shuffled around to different houses and grandma's house that doesn't have internet. And it's tough for some people. We are mirando asistencia y tenemos un programa, Attendance All Stars, para los niños que tienen problemas con asistencia y ellos pueden recibir regalos para buena asistencia cada semana y ellos están chequeando con otros maestras cada mañana a las 8:15 hasta 8:30 para tener un relationship.
Una relación, para desarrollar una relación.
Una relación con otros adultos en la escuela. For remote learning, we are welcoming all of our teachers back for K to 5th grade on Monday. So after like 320 days, it'll be the first time that all of our teachers are back in the building. It also is our 100th day of school. And, you know, we've just been kind of like riding this wave of trying to find out what, you know, like being kind of told what to do at the district. And what we've been just trying to understand as a community is that everybody feels differently about the pandemic, about safety, has all of their own individual concerns, and really just trying to listen to those and problem solve around them so that we can make everyone feel as comfortable as possible and we can be as safe as possible. And one of the ways that we did that was through our hybrid model. So all kids will be returning on Thursdays and Fridays that chose for hybrid. And in April, when more kids can opt in, then we'll be adding more days. So it will be up to 4 days in person for those classes that can accommodate it. Our teachers have been just doing an incredible job on the reopening committee to help with scheduling and help with arrival dismissal procedures and creating parent contact templates so that each teacher is going to do a family, like a info session with the health protocols and expectations for their classroom and what safety precautions are going to be in place. The reopening committee has been really integral for that. Part of the agreement with the CTU is also to form a safety committee. And it's like the reopening committee, just to have multiple voices on the team to identify any blind spots that we haven't thought about or haven't planned for. And that includes our engineer and multiple CTU members and us as a leadership team to kind of brainstorm and come together to make sure that everyone stays safe as possible. Do you want to summarize all of that, Marino?
Yeah. Entonces ahorita la directora, después de describir acerca del programa de asistencia, compartió el aprendizaje remoto y cómo vamos actualmente. Ahorita estamos preparándonos para el regreso de maestros y maestras el lunes y va a ser una semana de planificación, entonces el horario escolar va a ser modificado y esos planes ya han sido compartidos o van a ser compartidos con las familias. Entonces los estudiantes van a estar trabajando con un poco más de trabajo asincrónico, o sea, hay trabajo independiente que van a tener que completar. El modelo de enseñanza híbrido que va a llevarse a cabo 2 días de la semana para este semestre. Entonces, el jueves y viernes van a ser los días que vamos a ocupar para el modelo híbrido. Y eso significa donde tenemos clases en persona y tenemos clases remotas. Entonces, esos son los únicos días que se van a ofrecer clases en persona jueves y viernes para este semestre. Ya que lleguemos al último semestre, se vuelve a abrir la opción para familias en poder elegir qué tipo de enseñanza prefieren. Y ya cuando tengamos esos números, podemos ver la posibilidad. Si podríamos abrir a los 4 días, sería lunes, martes y otra vez jueves y viernes. El miércoles se sigue manteniendo como un día de planificación para los maestros y un día donde se puede también administrar una limpieza más profunda aquí en el edificio para mantener todos a salvo. Entonces, es ya cuando lleguemos al último semestre y tengamos esos números y las opciones que se han elegido, es cuando podemos ver si ese horario de 4 días va a ser necesario y se podría ofrecer. El 19 de abril se van a dar la prioridad de 4 días en persona para para esa clase. Entonces, esa es la fecha en cuando se van a abrir esas opciones, el 19 de abril, para las familias. Y I think that's it. I think that's all you shared.
Yeah.
Creo que es todo.
In terms of parent and family engagement, every teacher is going to be hosting an information session this next week. So next week is that abbreviated schedule. So K to 5th grade teachers, the week before each team comes back, they get a week long of like a shortened schedule. So next week is the K to 5th grade schedule that's shortened. So the kids will meet in the morning with their teacher, but the teachers have the rest of the afternoon off because they still have to come and set up their classrooms. So they'll be setting up their classrooms in the afternoon, playing with their new technology, kind of getting a feel for what life is going to be like in this new model. And they'll be setting up meetings with their specific families to outline their expectations and their protocols, to go through like the specific door that they're going to be entering in. So each of our grade levels are going to be entering in different doors to make sure that we're not really like making any bottlenecking. So they'll go through those specifics. On Friday, Moreno and I will have another info session just for any other lingering questions for parents, as more of like a general outline. We've had a few in the past for all of our false starts that we were going to start in that. So I feel like we've been talking about reopening for a while and having parent sessions, but we'll just have another one to just answer any lingering questions that we may have. Las maestras van a tener juntos para las familias para explicar las expectaciones y las puertas para entrar y la healthy precautions, the health and safety protocols para la escuela. Saludable y...
Los protólogos para poder saber cómo mantenerse seguros aquí en la escuela.
Sí. In terms of restorative practices, we really don't have that many behavior issues with remote. I mean, besides the couple little like inappropriate things in the chat or, kids logging on off when they're not supposed to be and just like hanging out. But there really hasn't been that many like behavior issues. In terms of restorative practices, we're really just like trying to encourage connection and engagement. So, making sure like if there is anything inappropriate in the chat, Conway will kind of reach out to be like, what was causing this? And let's do some like brainstorming around what better ways that we can connect and talk. But really in terms of discipline or restorative conversations, it's mostly just having kids get a chance to talk things through together.
No hemos tenido ningunos problemas así graves acerca del comportamiento fuera de lo que típicamente ocurre cuando hay enseñanza en línea, donde a veces los niños están teniendo conversaciones fuera de la clase y si hay problemas, se han trabajado con los maestros, platicando con los estudiantes para asegurar que se están clarificando las expectativas escolares. Y aparte de eso, en términos de prácticas restaurativas, hemos estado intentando de simplemente mantener las vías de comunicación abiertas para asegurarnos de que si hay oportunidades de apoyo o necesidades, ¿verdad?, específicas para algún estudiante, que nosotros estamos al tanto de lo que se necesita en ese momento y que podamos nosotros conseguir los recursos necesarios para apoyar. Pero ahorita actualmente por la cuestión de que no hemos estado en clase, no hemos tenido ningún problema serio.
In the last couple of things, there's just our building is ready. Our custodians have been insanely awesome, just cleaning and disinfecting and creating protocols. Our custodian or our security has been distributing materials nonstop for families, keeping our building safe, removing snow. Our building is ready to rock. We'll get, I'm sure more things will come up in terms of building when teachers get into their classrooms. So we're ready for that. But in terms of safety protocols and safety, we're ready. And we are still hiring a couple of miscellaneous employees to cover some teachers that are getting accommodations to work remotely. So trying to figure out that schedule of who's covering whom when the teacher's kind of like Skyping in on the computer from home, who's going to be in the classroom as the adult to supervise and make sure that, you know, everything's happening smoothly, managing that technology and everything else. El edificio está listo para la escuela y our security, de seguridad, Mr. Munoz y Mr. García, están
Distribuyendo.
I'm just going to conjugate my English. Distribuyendo. They're distribuyendo los libros, las computadoras y todas las cosas para aprender en la casa. Y necesitamos hire. How do you say hire again? Contratar otros empleados para cubrir las clases que la maestra está en la casa enseñando en la clase en la smartboard. Entonces es lo mismo maestra o maestro, pero enseñando, pero ellos tienen un accommodation para continuar enseñando en la casa hasta las vacunas. Ellos tienen inmunidad.
Yeah. So, entonces, algunos maestros tienen permiso de trabajar en casa hasta que no cumplan con su segunda vacuna y el periodo de 2 semanas de espera después de que reciban esa segunda vacuna, y esa acomodación se da a través del distrito. Entonces, algunos maestros tienen ese permiso, han conseguido ese permiso, y mientras, para dar clase en persona, ellos van a estar dándola en línea, utilizando el equipo técnico que tenemos aquí de la escuela. Entonces los estudiantes van a tener una pantalla grande, pero necesitamos más personal, más personal escolar aquí en la escuela para ayudarnos en el manejo y coordinación de eso, y que alguien pueda estar allí presente acompañando a los estudiantes mientras ellos están en clase con el maestro o maestra actual.
Y creo que es todo. Estamos listos, solo ahora tenemos horarios nuevos para la próxima 3 semanas. We have new schedules for the next 3 weeks just to accommodate those different extra planning weeks. So next week, there's the shortened week for K-5. The following week, we'll start the actual hybrid schedule. So right now, because everyone was remote, because everyone was remote, we had a common lunch. Everyone was at 12 o'clock. But because we're coming back in person, the schedules are going to be a little bit different. So if you're staying remote, the schedules may change a bit. Ms. Castillo, ¿tiene pregunta?
Sí, por favor. Aquí leo que dice contratación de personal, contratación de empleados de MSC para cubrir el alojamiento. ¿Qué significa, por favor, eso de MSC?
Eso es simplemente una palabra en inglés que se llama miscellaneous, que viene siendo, son empleados en una categoría donde son simplemente como empleados extras, ¿verdad? Que no tienen no tienen un cargo específico, sino que pueden ellos trabajar con nosotros en diferentes puestos. Por ejemplo, en ayudar a los estudiantes, en asistir a una maestra, o en facilitar actividades de recreo.
Ya, y se puede aplicar. ¿Dónde se aplica?
Sí, puede usted mandarnos un mensaje, lo puede hacer con correo electrónico, o también en la página de Facebook tenemos el anuncio, y ahí también nos puede mandar una notita que usted está interesada en aplicar, y entonces nosotros nos ponemos en contacto con ustedes para dar una breve entrevista, y así es de fácil.
Perfecto. Ok, me anotaré. Gracias.
Unfortunately, though, Ms. Castillo, usted no puede aplicar porque están en el LSC.
¿Cómo? ¿Cómo?
Usted no puede porque then I would be paying you. I'd be like, here, let me give you a bonus for my evaluation.
So no, okay, entonces dice ella que como tiene puesto usted, actualmente usted tiene puesto en el concilio, desgraciadamente no permiten que un miembro del concilio también sea contratado en este puesto con la escuela. Desgraciadamente no.
O la familia, o su familia, porque es porque el LSC puede decir, yo creo que los miscellaneous necesitan $500 cada hora, y porque it's just because then it's we can't do any like contract work with any family of ours or whoever, because it could be like, hey, use my brother over here because he can snowplow and we'll pay him $2,000.
Ya. Al menos que me retire del concilio.
Sí, si usted se retira del concilio, entonces sí podría aplicar.
Okay.
Pero
Tiffany, I think that you can't do it within a year or something like that. Do you remember that, Freer? Tiffany, I think because Tiffany
2 years.
2 years? Okay.
2 years?
Yeah, there's a cooling off period.
Oh, no. Okay. So,
Yeah.
entonces dicen que hay un periodo de 2 años que tienen que pasar después de ser miembro del concilio para poder aplicar.
Sorry, Castillo. You're stuck with us. You're stuck with us.
Entonces, no, tienen que pasar 2 años antes de que pueda aplicar para un trabajo, desafortunadamente.
But if anyone knows anyone else, it's right now, it will just be for Thursday and Friday in person all day. And then with the opportunity to go full time once we have more kids in the building. So it's $15 an hour. It would be like, 7:45 to 3, and really flexible. So if anyone knows anyone that wants to be in
si conocen a alguien que quiera aplicar, pueden aplicar mandándonos un correo electrónico o a través del Facebook también. El trabajo es de 7:45 hasta las 3 de la tarde, de jueves y viernes ahorita. Entonces, y se paga $15 la hora.
So that's a local hire. That's not through CPS.
We have 3 positions that they gave us through CPS to help cover these classes. But we are able to hire whoever we want.
Oh, okay. So but the application process, is that through CPS, like at their normal website?
Yeah, you have to go through the normal website, and then get a background check, fingerprinting, all of drug tests, all of those things.
But the hiring is totally up to Moose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha.
So we have a bunch already. So we have Miss Morales, Miss Jara, las mamás de Musketeers. Ellos están trabajando ahora. They've been working this whole time, getting the school ready, doing bulletin boards and things like that. But we have like Mr. Pagan, Mr. Moore. We have other people that have been our recess monitors in the past that are returning, but we just get more to anticipate for the absences.
Oh.
And for quarantines, and if a pod gets sick or a teacher gets sick, or there's travel restrictions that the teacher went out of town and then they have to quarantine for 10 days. They're anticipating a lot of coverage and a lot of people that need to be in the building. So
they're building up the reserves.
Building the reserves, because it'll be
interesting.
It'll be interesting for sure.
Ya ahorita tenemos actualmente algunos papás o mamás que están trabajando con nosotras, y que han estado ayudándonos en preparación del regreso a clase en persona. Y también hay parte del equipo que anteriormente estuvo con nosotros, también van a regresar, como el señor Pagan, el señor Moore, el señor Dale. Entonces, estas personas forman parte del equipo que tenemos, pero se espera que en cada escuela que van a haber más necesidades de personal por el hecho de las acomodaciones que se les están dando a los maestros por cuestiones de salud. y de familia. Entonces, entonces por esa razón se han abierto más puestos para estos trabajos. La señora Suárez tenía una pregunta.
Sí, ¿tienen algún requisito para esos puestos? Por ejemplo, escolaridad o edad, algo por el estilo.
No.
So do we have any requirements for those jobs?
No, just very kind, patient, loving.
Que sean personas pacientes, amables, y que quieran trabajar con estudiantes, ¿verdad? Es el único requisito. No estamos pidiendo ciertas expectativas de educación ni experiencias previas.
Esto lo tiene que aprobar CPS, tienen que hacer como...
Sí, entonces cada persona, nosotros decidimos quiénes podrían aplicar, ¿verdad? Entonces por eso hacemos nosotros una entrevista, y ya que decidimos que esta persona podría formar o quisiéramos que formen parte del equipo, entonces procedemos con mandándolos con CPS para que sean ellos aprobados con un chequeo que les hacen un reviso, ¿no? Es un reviso de seguridad, les sacan las huellas de los dedos y ellos tienen que pasar por ese proceso de seguridad, ¿verdad? Para ser aprobados.
We've had, so Miss Roa y Miss Avión empezando en esta posición. Y ahora Miss Avión es una maestra y Miss Roa es un teaching assistant. Entonces, you know, we try to hire people that, you know, want to stay at our school and love our school. Just like our cafeteria workers, right now, for the last year, we've just had substitutes the whole time. So we both posted the ad for that. They're hiring a lot of lunchroom workers. And we would love to just get like a family, a Moose family in, so that we have like not a revolving door of substitutes, rather like someone that the kids know and love each day.
El deseo de aquí de la escuela es que sigamos pudiendo contratar a más papás o miembros de las familias de Moose, simplemente para poder apreciar, ¿no? Lo que es este ambiente y que que cada persona pueda contribuir a ese ambiente. Entonces, también hace poco yo y la directora pusimos información sobre trabajos de la cafetería también, porque ahorita hemos tenido en la cafetería trabajadores y trabajadoras que simplemente están aquí temporalmente, no han sido asignados a este sitio permanentemente. Y estamos buscando personas, ¿verdad?, que quisieran tener esa experiencia, ese entrenamiento de trabajar en una cafetería, pero que quizás son miembros de la familia de Moose y puedan aplicar. Entonces, ese proceso, esa parte, ese es diferente para trabajar en la cafetería, y pusimos toda esa información en la página de Facebook. Señora Suárez.
Sí, para la cafetería no necesitan no les impiden nada el que estén en el concilio.
That's a good, buena pregunta. Can LSC members apply for the cafeteria jobs?
You can apply, but you won't be able to work at our school, unfortunately. You can work at any other school, but not.
Pueden aplicar, pero no les van a dar el puesto en la escuela de Moose. Pueden trabajar en cualquier otra escuela. Hay trabajos en todo el distrito ahorita para la cafetería, pero es probable que les den otra escuela y no la escuela de Moose porque están en el concilio.
Ok, gracias.
Pero tal vez la West Park con Mrs. Asaf.
How is she doing over there?
She's good. She's good. Yeah. She's, you know, it's been crazy these last 320 days. You know, she started.
No, yo tengo que prepararme porque a Marisol nomás queda 2 años en MUS. Entonces, si yo quiero seguir en MUS, tengo que salirme del concilio para después quedarme trabajando.
Trabajar aquí, sí. Perfecta.
Muchos años en el concilio, ya voy a estar en el concilio. 2 años. Voy a
I think
el
Ms.
terreno.
Castillo had a question. Señora Castillo, tenía una pregunta.
Sí, bueno, yo también estoy pensando lo de salirme del concilio porque no es justo. Esto no me parece. Y me gustaría colaborar también con la escuela MUS, con lo que respecte a cualquier cosa. Sin embargo, bueno, vamos a hablar sobre, o sea, después hablaré sobre eso, lo del concilio.
Hey, Mr. Julio or Ms. Moreno, are you aware of any waiver for that cooling off period?
I'm not, Ms. Freyer, you might be more familiar with the regulations. I'm not familiar.
I've never heard of one, unless it's brand new. I've never heard of a waiver.
I think it's something that at least should be thrown or shot up the flagpole to see if that's a possibility.
Yeah, maybe we can ask.
Yeah, there's no, I mean, it doesn't hurt in asking. At least
Mhm.
we'll get an answer definitively, you know.
Yeah.
But you have
yeah.
two folks right here that if that waiver is possible.
No,
Yeah.
believe me,
wonderful.
Tiffany, we've said the same thing to Tiffany. Like, we really want you on the LSC, but she also volunteers all the time. But we're like, we should pay you. You're here every day.
Ya vamos a ver, podríamos averiguar a ver si hay una forma de sacar un permiso especial dado las circunstancias de todo lo que estamos pasando ahorita. Entonces, se podría ver si hay posibilidad de sacar un permiso especial.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Okay.
There aren't any, I know Freyer has to take it to class. There aren't any amendments, but the budget is going to be coming out in a couple months. It usually comes out in April, May. We'll see how, it kind of varies each year. And I'll be giving more information as we know any dates of when that's going to be released. But there aren't any amendments as of now. I'm sure once teachers get into the building, they'll have a million things that need to be bought and like redone because, you know, this building's been sitting empty for so long. So I'm sure there'll be a lot more spending happening shortly.
Can I just add, there's the internal accounts balance sheet here that's linked. So LSC members, you have a link to this, excuse me, you have a link to this presentation in the calendar invite. And if you would choose to look at those internal account balance sheets, they're there for you. That's something that's required for Mr. Julio to share with us. So if you want to look over those, the link is in this presentation. The link to this presentation is in the calendar invite.
El nuevo presupuesto de la escuela todavía no sale. Se abre o se publica el presupuesto escolar cada abril. Entonces todavía estamos esperando el nuevo que se utiliza para el próximo año, pero y ahorita no hay nada para reportar en términos de gastos o compras que se tienen que hacer. Se espera que ya cuando regresen los maestros a la escuela quizás van a haber otras necesidades ya que actualmente están aquí. Pero también la maestra Freyer quiere compartir que enlazado a esta presentación que ustedes tienen con la agenda, enlazado están las hojas de balance para el presupuesto actual y las cuentas internas de la escuela ahorita, que se están utilizando ahorita. Entonces, ustedes siempre tienen acceso y es algo que es mandatorio a repartir con el concilio y están enlazadas aquí en verde las cuentas internas de la escuela y conjunto con la hoja de balancia para el presupuesto actual de la escuela.
Oh, one more thing, there will also be a link to this presentation in the minutes that I send you later today.
Okay, también van a ver el enlace para estos documentos. Está en la invitación que se les dio hoy para esta presentación, para esta reunión y también en los minutos que se están grabando de esta reunión.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to old business, none. Likewise for the new business, I think we've covered pretty much everything in the last hour and a half or hour and a half plus. So we'll just move into the public forum. Anyone have any questions at this time?
¿Preguntas en este momento?
Now, one question I had on the masks when the kids start returning to in person, and I know they can bring their own masks, and the school will have masks available for the students and staff, obviously. Do they have to be a certain type of mask? We have issues at the airport with folks coming through with the new mandate of mask wearing, and they wear gaiters. Gaiters are not allowed. There's certain requirements as far as the face coverings. Is that going to be the same for CPS?
It just has to be the double layer. The gaiters the gaiters, the reason is because it's just a single layer. Yeah. But as long as they're the double layer, they're fine. Okay. And like my kids, I've had to try like 500 different types because some are like hang down here, they fall off their ears, they don't cover. So we are letting kids, and the ones that they sent us kind of suck. They're like really hot. they're really bulky. They're cloth. And I wear them in a pinch because I'm constantly looking for my mask and they're dirty or like they smell. And my kids are like, this one stinks. I can't wear this one. So we have a bunch here. We've got disposable ones here to swap out. My kids' masks also like after lunch are just like covered in like food inside. It's like, really disgusting. But I also bought, what I really like is like these like lanyard things that they can just pop them on and off. So at lunch, they don't have to take them off, put them on the table, then they fall on the floor and a kid steps on them. So I like these little lanyard things and they can just pop in and off, on and off at their leisure.
La pregunta es acerca de máscaras y si vamos a tener si vamos a tener un requisito acerca de que el tipo de máscara o cubrebocas que se va a utilizar aquí en la escuela. Por ejemplo, el señor Ferrer está describiendo de que en los aeropuertos no permiten que la gente se suba a los aviones con lo que le llaman el cubrebocas gaiter, que es como una bufanda que se pone sobre el cuello y que utilizan, se lo jalan sobre la boca y la nariz. Y típicamente esos no se permiten porque son de solamente tienen una capa, es una capa de tela. Y ahorita la recomendación es que toda la gente tenga a lo mínimo 2 capas de tela o una mascarilla, un cubrebocas de los que son desechables, que tienen más de una capa en sí. Entonces, aquí eso va a ser el requisito de que por lo mínimo tengan dos capas de tela o 2 capas de cubrimiento si son desechables. Tenemos aquí cubrebocas desechables para todos los alumnos. Si necesitan cambiárselas o no tienen una, se les revienta, lo que sea. También la directora compró unos collarcitos que se conectan al ¿cómo le dice? El elástico que cubre las orejas. Entonces, esto va a ayudar cuando los estudiantes se tienen que bajar la mascarilla para comer. Ayuda a prevenir de que vayan a ensuciar su mascarilla con la comida, que muchas veces ocurre con los niños más chiquitos, y de esta manera también previene de que vayan a tener que bajarse la mascarilla, ponerla sobre la mesa, y después viene siendo que se cae al piso y alguien la pisa, y no es simplemente sano. Entonces, cada estudiante va a tener ese collarcito para poder colgar la mascarilla, y cuando temporalmente se la bajen para comer, la puedan tener colgada del cuello en lugar de la mesa o el piso.
Okay, Mr. Adonis had a question posted. How many kids are expected to return?
We're 149, I believe. I just printed out the newest numbers. So we've had a big uptick in preschool enrollments because now that we're in person 5 days a week, all the parents are trying to enroll nonstop. So our preschool is going up. I think we've kind of gone through waves. We went through like a wave when the COVID rates were at like 9%. A lot of people pulled out of hybrid. Now that the rates are down, I think below at about 3%, parents are wanting to opt back into hybrid. But every parent will have an opportunity to opt back in for fourth quarter, which is why we'll try to add more days. And then it'll be steady. Like we won't be having kids popping in and out. But I believe it's 140.
150?
Yeah, one. Right now it's 151.
Okay. And 100?
235 at home.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
150, okay, cool.
All right, hearing no other questions or comments, our next meeting.
La cantidad de estudiantes que Mr. Ferrer.
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure I explained the last piece to families in Spanish.
Sure.
La cantidad de estudiantes que ha optado por la instrucción en persona actualmente está a 151. Y hemos tenido un aumento en la registración pre-kinder por la cuestión de que hemos estado ofreciendo clases en persona.
Okay, so our next meeting is scheduled for March 19th at 8:30. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for dialing in today and joining us on this conversation. And if there's nothing else, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 10:19.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Ooh, my butt from sitting. Whew, I need to do a little stretch. Es 1 hora y 40 minutos, ¿sí? No, what time